I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking with Johnny Steele of Payoneer, who are cross-border payment solution people, i.e. they help people get paid from one place to another and move money around the globe as efficiently as possible, which is obviously really important. And I do think it's one of the barriers that stops people, I think wrongly stops them from, selling in the US if they're UK based, or selling in Europe if they're US based, which is the majority of the audience, is one of those two things. Or if you're in Germany, recently did a podcast there as well, also applies to you guys. So I think Johnny should be able to help us with that. So the first thing, John, I'm going to ask you the question really, how do we deal with the terrifying sometimes fluctuations that seem to happen between different currencies? Do we need to sort of have a crystal ball about what's going to happen next? I mean, how does that work for international sellers?
Well, if you can buy a crystal ball on Amazon that can tell you the currency predictions for the future, then go ahead and buy it. I hope it comes with a money-back guarantee if it doesn't work. But most of us don't have that crystal ball, and there are definitely there is uncertainty in the world that makes it really hard to predict what's going to be. I think even just if you look over the last year and a half in the UK, initially with the Brexit referendum, where I don't think most of us didn't expect it to go the way it did, and even when it did go that way, I don't think we expected the pound to drop quite as much and to stay down there. And then through that period of time, just other uncertainties in the world that impact on currencies, whether it's a surprise election of Donald, whether it was the snap election and the surprise results in the UK again, whether it's this continuing uncertainty about whether we're going to have a hard Brexit or a soft Brexit, and what does it actually mean. There is a ton of uncertainty out there. What I can say 100% is currencies will continue to go up and go down. What will happen tomorrow is something that at Payoneer we are not really in the business of being able to tell you what you should do, when you should change your currencies and when you should hold on to them. What we are there to do is to make sure that an Amazon seller has all the tools they possibly need in order to manage their currencies in a smart way. And that starts with the fact that we provide receiving accounts so that you can receive the payments from any of the Amazon marketplaces in the currency that it's being sold in. So if you're selling in the EU, we give you a Euro bank account number so that you receive those euros from Amazon at no cost at all. Those euros will land into your Payoneer account, and you can hold on to those euros as long as you want. So they stay there. You have full control over what you want to do with it. So if you want to, for example, withdraw those funds today into pounds and pay the conversion as it is, we will show you the conversion rate at this very moment of time. You can choose whether you want to withdraw it or whether you want to wait. You might want to wait just a few hours if you have reason to believe that it's going to change, or if you want to do it right there and then, you have certainty as to what that is going to cost, as well as the opportunity to hold those currencies and make payments to suppliers.
Excellent. So you preempted my next question, which is, what's the sort of mechanics of it? So just talk us through that a little bit more in detail so that we get a sense of it. I mean, you basically, I think, summed it up pretty well. But let's imagine, for example, I'm a UK-based seller. I find a way to deal with the currencies, not the currencies, but the language issue, which, by the way, I'd recommend that anyone who is wanting to expand internationally, as this is part of the whole discussion we're having, is that they check out the podcast I did with Nadine Eich of Enida, which is a kind of German joke, Enida. But basically, Enida will do translations and customer service for you in German. So let's assume you've ticked that box, and now you're getting paid in euros. Talk us through the exact process that you guys would provide and the structure that you provide for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really very simple. You come to our website, Payoneer.com, and you sign up there to a Payoneer account. It's as easy as just opening up any type of online account. You put in a few details, you'll get approved, and then you have that online account. So that doesn't cost you anything, and anybody can do that and just start to explore the system. One of the services that we offer is something we call our global payment service, which is a series of different bank account numbers, your own unique number. So you have with it a US bank account number from the equivalent of a Citibank or a Bank of America bank account number. You have a Euro bank account number. You have a Japanese yen. You have a Chinese currency. You have a series of different currency accounts, and those are just bank account numbers that you have. The thing about these accounts, just imagine there how much easier it is to just sign up and open up a Payoneer account than trying to open up bank accounts in all of those countries, which is an absolute nightmare if you're not in that market. Once you have that, then as Amazon's partner, it's very simple. You just go into your Seller Central. You can put in, if you wanted to, you could put in your UK bank account number, and then you're going to be paying a conversion on that right away. What we allow you to do, therefore, is if you're selling on Amazon France, is to put in a Euro bank account number. So you've earned in euros, and you're going to receive those euros in euros, and it's going to land into your Payoneer account. So having over, I don't know, a 14-day period of time, you've sold 15,000 euros worth of merchandise. You will get, as soon as you get that withdrawal, that disbursement from Amazon, you will see those 15,000 euros land in your online Payoneer account. That money is yours. And that's where the fun begins, because depending on your business needs, you'll make a decision yourself about what you want to do. So you can either keep it there and just hold the euros in your online Payoneer account. You can withdraw those funds to your UK bank account in pounds at great rates, or you can make a payment. So this is something that is very, very popular with Amazon sellers. If you have suppliers, say in China, that you're working with, all you need to do is make sure that you're all in the network. As long as they have a Payoneer account and you have a Payoneer account, you can transfer funds between each other for free. So if you want to send 10,000 euros of those earnings to your Chinese supplier, you send them 10,000, they receive 10,000. There are no fees charged either to you or your supplier, and that way you have avoided paying a double conversion. What would typically happen in other cases, or if you just put in your British bank account number into Amazon, is that you would have paid a conversion rate from those euros into pounds, and then you're going to have to pay your supplier in perhaps a different currency, and you've paid twice on a conversion when all of that was avoidable.
Yeah, I remember that somebody mentioned that at the conference that you guys ran, and I said, just a second, let me just understand this, because I think this is, if you get nothing else from these couple of episodes with Johnny, and first of all, I think you're not really listening, because Johnny's providing a lot of great insight from somebody who's in a position to know about the global picture. But I mean, just that simple thing is really quite life-changing, because when you start converting a lot of money from one thing to another and then paying suppliers, it adds up real quick. I mean, even if you're not turning over a great deal of money, if you spend 4% or whatever it is Amazon charges every time you change, you only need to be doing $100,000 a year or something, and you've given Amazon about $2,000 or $3,000 of the money you could have kept. So that is I really want to underline how powerful that is relative to the other solutions that I've had in the past.
And this is also a benefit that we're a very global company, is that we already have over hundreds of thousands of sellers in Asia that are already using Payoneer. And we also have a very significant size team there. We have around 100 employees in Hong Kong and mainland China offices. So we actually offer a service to, say, a UK or US seller or European seller who has these Chinese merchants, Chinese suppliers, and wants to get them onto the platform as well, that we will provide one of our account managers to reach out and help bridge the gap to make sure that your Chinese supplier gets their Payoneer account with no trouble whatsoever, and then helps you guys to connect. So if you have a little bit of difficulty just communicating or convincing them to sign up for something they don't have already, then we provide somebody that will be able to do that. So it's almost a level of professional services to make sure you get your suppliers into the network as well.
Yeah, again, I cannot stress how good this is relative to the other solutions I've had. I mean, let me just give you an example as an alternative, and just make sure that you can see that it would replace this system. What I've had is Amazon will pay into a receiving account in the US. The US account will then pay into my US dollars account, which is kept in my British bank. And there's a certain percentage taken, I think normally 1.5% taken off for that movement. So it's not a currency change, but it's a movement. And then from the US dollars account, I pay my Chinese suppliers. That again will cost some bank transfer charges, even though it's not a currency change. So to avoid the currency fluctuations, I've had to set up this rather unwieldy system where I get charged twice for moving money from my bank account in America to the US dollars account in the UK, and then again from the UK to China. So I just wanted to double check that your system will just replace that entire flow.
It entirely replaces that flow. It simplifies things so much, and it really gives you a lot more power, a lot more control over your currencies. That you don't it doesn't have to land into your UK bank, your US dollar account in the UK when you're not ready for it. You can hold those dollars and use those dollars as you will. There's so many bank fees that sometimes we're not even aware of, landing fees as well as very high conversion fees that both yourself and your suppliers are going to have to face, and we can eliminate that and really simplify it with very clear pricing around low conversion fees. And that's something that we actually offer also tiered pricing. So for higher volume sellers, we're able to offer super competitive pricing. So you won't find another foreign exchange company out there that's serving Amazon customers that will be able to offer a more competitive price than we do in the US and UK, and particularly in Europe as well. But we don't even fight our battles based on price. We talk about the value that we can bring and these added value services, which actually save significant fees beyond just the straight conversion fee that other suppliers will also talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the smartest ways to deal with the whole currency fluctuations question is to just not go into it in the first place. So if I get paid in dollars, particularly from the US, and I pay my Chinese suppliers in dollars, all I want to do is stay in dollars, and that's what I've done. And so far, I thought I was being clever, avoiding the pound to dollar fluctuation, which is good. But this is one step further, which is avoiding any kind of change whatsoever. So I really am passionately keen on this entire way of doing things, and I'm not sort of trying to plug Payoneer in a particular way by saying that. It's just because I haven't come across anyone else who offers a similar service. So let's talk about now. Johnny, let's talk about this for the newish seller or person who doesn't have a stack of dollars to buy with yet. If you're starting off with a stack of pounds in a British account and you wish to make some purchases from China in US dollars, which is a very typical transaction, how would you guys be able to help with that situation?
So with Payoneer, with the Payoneer account as it stands today, and as I say, we're continuing to invest in the product and develop new solutions. But the way we work currently is that you need to receive the payment first before you can make a payment. So if you're a new business, you're going to have to start somewhere in order to be able to source your merchandise and make some investments of your own. When Payoneer kicks in is when you're able to get that first disbursement from Amazon or any other place, any other business that you are selling to or marketplace you're selling on. So as soon as you start to receive your disbursements from Amazon and you get funds coming into your Payoneer account, that's when you've got something in your Payoneer account to be able to play with. So until that point, if you're just starting out and you need to make that initial investment in China, that's something you're going to have to work out on your own. And there are plenty of suppliers out there that will help you to do that. We're there once you're ready to start to receive those first payments from marketplaces or companies you do business with.
Okay, well, so that's an important limitation to be very clear on. So you guys literally deal with receiving and then passing on rather than, getting stuff into the hands of suppliers or whoever else in the first place. Well, it's good to know so that you're clear about what you do and don't cover.
Yeah, I mean, we are increasing the different services that we offer. So one possibility is if you have, for example, a Chinese seller, a Chinese supplier that you're working with, many Chinese suppliers are using Payoneer already. So that Chinese supplier will have a UK bank account number, a US bank account number, all care of Payoneer. So that's one way, is to make sure they're already in Payoneer, and then you'll be able to transfer them. If you have the pounds and they're interested in receiving pounds, or you have the dollars and you want to get them dollars, you can actually pay them into their Payoneer account. So that's kind of the reverse situation. They're the Payoneer customer and you're sort of sending funds into their US bank account number that Payoneer supplied them with. And we are launching in the later on this year more services for a payer. So a business that needs to send payments or send small payments rather than be on the receiving end of the payments. We're going to have a new offering for them coming out quite soon as well. So continue to watch this space.
Okay, that's worth looking out for, depending on when people are listening to this. It's being recorded sort of early August 2017. I know that people do listen back through the back catalogue. Sometimes people come to me and say, I've started listening to your episodes from the beginning. I'm like, dude, there's 200 of them. I wouldn't start that far back. But there's a lot to go through. So for the moment then, say my Chinese supplier really wants to have dollars rather than pounds, which in my experience is mostly going to be the case, and they have a Payoneer dollar account or pound account, then what would and I'm a British seller starting off with pounds in my account, what would I do in that situation?
So there's a couple of different services that are all part of the package of the Payoneer account. So one of them is called the billing service. So the Chinese seller or UK business for that matter can send a payment request to another business somewhere else in the world that says, pay me $5,000 for such and such goods that I'm providing you, or the services that I provided you, and the person on the receiving end who receives that payment request will then get an email saying that this business wants to be paid that sum of money. Would you like to pay it with credit card, with a bank transfer, with an e-check? So again, it depends what currencies you're already holding. So if it's a relatively small amount, I know samples is something that does go back and forth between suppliers and sellers quite a bit. So the billing service is quite a good solution for that, because you can just pay with a credit card and make that payment online, and that will land in that Chinese seller's Payoneer account. There are also e-checks and bank transfers that can easily be done, so that you can send them the funds.
And how about if I want to actually order a significant size rather than just a sample, which I know, yeah, you're right, goes back and forth, and often PayPal is good enough, although it's not a cost effective because it's about 4% charge on that. But I mean, you were talking $50-$60. But yeah, if I want to place an order, let's be specific. Let's say I'm just starting out. I'm doing my first private label product. I want to place an order for $5,000 of some widgets from Chinese factory A. Is there a way that Payoneer can help with that process?
Yeah, so they could send you a payment request at the moment. That would be one way to be able to do that, and then you would be able to respond to that payment request through a variety of different methods. If you have Payoneer Balance, and that's something that we're introducing quite soon, that with the balance that you already have. But if you're at the stage before that, then it will be plugging in your bank account and your credit card in order to make that transfer to the Chinese merchant and get them on their way. So there are a bunch of different ways both to be able to. I mean, we've really focused this discussion until now on receiving payments from Amazon and then making the payments onwards. But in that scenario you described, there are also opportunities for that UK business that just needs to make some payments to their Chinese merchants their Chinese suppliers to be able to do that as well.
Excellent. So very simply, you'd ask your supplier to send you a payment request, and then you'd make it from credit card or bank account. And how would what costs are you looking at there? Is there sort of a charge and then a conversion, sort of a percentage? How does that work out?
Yeah, so the fees are all outlined depending on where you are in the world and the service that you're using. So the Chinese merchant will be aware of the pricing that we provide them for these services. In most cases, the primary fee is just the conversion fee, if there is a conversion, and there are also some fees in a credit card payment is a more expensive payment to make than a bank transfer if you're responding to or an e-check if you're responding to a payment request. But all of that is very visually outlined as part of the flow, and that's something that we believe in. Sort of, as much as pricing can be complex when there's a lot of different choices, is to be pretty transparent and really explain to both buyers and sellers what you're being charged and how it's being charged, and then I think that's generally how you earn trust with your customers.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, but international payments can involve quite a lot of extra costs. So I think, yeah, that is something that's worth just talking through. And by the way, talking things through, if anyone's interested in either finding out more detail on discussions I'm having with Johnny, either in this episode or the previous one, where Johnny's talked a hell of a lot about from his very global perspective, working for Payoneer and physically traveling around the globe, talking to different merchants and banking providers and so forth, then you can get those at the show notes. So I'm going to put them at amazingfba.com/Johnny S, JONNYN for November, S for sugar, so JONNYS. So we'll have links there, Johnny, so if anyone wants to explore further how they might work with Payoneer and how the exact process works. Just wanted to wrap things up with you, really, just to come back to the thing that you touched on at the beginning, which is the international angle, really, that sort of global overview. Just very briefly, we talked about the whole thing of brand Britain and brand USA, or made in Germany, and the power that has, that we can kind of sometimes overlook if we live in those countries. And a lot of the listeners I know in the US, and you guys also need to realize just how pervasive American culture is in the UK. I mean, you probably get that already, but I mean, really, for the right kind of markets, made in the USA or designed in the USA is just such a powerful brand. I can say that from experience as a British consumer, right? But how do we then use that sort of global brand of the country as a whole and connect that to our own brand that we're creating for our own company, our own business, and build an audience. So how do we translate that into sort of commercial value over time?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And the one thing, I mean, I've been listening now to your podcast for a couple of months, and I wasn't one of those people that started right at the very beginning, but I have been slowly going back and in my long runs listening to 2 or 3 episodes. And I think where I'm a little different from your usual guest, Michael, is that many of your guests are Amazon sellers themselves or have been Amazon sellers themselves and have then entered into the world of providing different solutions and services to Amazon sellers. I'm not that. I'm not being ever an Amazon seller. I certainly spoken to many and met many, and I'm very interested in entering that world at some point in my career. But right now, I provide a service to those Amazon sellers, and so I don't have that view necessarily on like the real kind of pains and challenges of building a brand as an Amazon seller. However, I have had a lot of experience in other tech companies and online businesses and building up a brand and standing out from competition. I don't think it's a huge world away when you're just whether you're selling a service to marketing professionals that will help them to visualize what people do on their website more. I was selling a solution like that in the past, that we had competition. We needed a way to make our brand stand out and have a unique identity. And I think that's something that is true in many cases. And even things that we sometimes assume have become completely commoditized. And I'll give you a great example of where I witnessed some, what I thought was a masterstroke of marketing quite recently, was water. Water, in my view, is something that is fairly commoditized now. Now, my wife once said that she could swear by when she was drinking Evian water as opposed to the supermarket own label, and of course I did a blind test on her. She failed. I think it was the Asda Smart Price water that she found was the tastiest. So I'm standing on the basis that there are some things that are commoditized and very similar, and there's a lot of branding. Some will tell you, and I'm sure there are listeners right now who are saying that I'm speaking nonsense and it's completely different. But this one of the water brands that I heard advertised was talking about having one of those kind of water cooler systems inside your home. So that comes with quite a few costs that you need to invest in actually having this purification system set up, and they're trying to get people to buy this product. And so what was the advertising? So the advertising could be the water is going to taste much better, the water is going to be healthier, the water is this, or athletes drink this water. They went with a simple message of people that have this system in their home drink more water. That was their message, is that it was a kind of a health message of, yes, of course we all want to drink more water. It was saying, if you have this system, you will drink more of it, as opposed to taking water out the tap normally or buying bottled water. And what they've done there is something that in marketing, and certainly at Payoneer, we use it for our own marketing, is something called attribute value mapping. It's a system that was designed by a company called SIT, which stands for Systematic Inventive Thinking. It's a theory that we use quite well, and all it does is you start from the very beginning of describing all the attributes of your product, what it actually does. Like it is this big, it is this strong, it is one of your favorite examples is the recharger for your laptop. That there's a whole kind of technical definition that you can spread out there. Those are your attributes, and you start to then build up a tree where you turn those attributes into values, and this tree eventually kind of converges on a message at the top of it where you've actually identified that this recharger is going to simplify your life. That is the kind of your real value that you are bringing because of all the different things. And what so many brands do, and even on Amazon, you see it time and time again, is they slip into describing their attributes. They just describe the features and the technical spec, and they lose track of what is the value that they're actually bringing to the consumer. And I think when you're talking about building up your brand and building it up internationally, go through that exercise of mapping your attributes and the values and try and figure out what is in it for the consumer, what is going to make a difference to their lives. And if you do that, you will find yourself, even in a completely commoditized market, selling something with a perceived value which is completely different to the competition.
Wow, that's a fantastic place to leave things at. And that's I cannot think that is anything but fantastic advice, really. I mean, and it's interesting that you've seen such a striking example in like the ultimate commodity, water, and yet selling. I think ultimately what we've got to not be afraid of is selling the value of what we have to sell. People think of that as an add-on. I think sometimes like selling is that thing you've got to do after you produced a great widget, but really it's kind of trickery. But actually, I think what you're selling is connecting people to the true value of your product, and that is in itself a value. I mean, if you get people to drink more water, then you have provided huge value. It doesn't really kind of matter how you achieve it, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at all of our favorite brands. I mean, you mentioned Apple a little earlier on in the podcast. Apple does so much more than describe its features. It is a true brand. And I read somewhere that they changed their name not so long ago, maybe 10 years ago, that the actual corporate name of the company was Apple Computers, and they changed it to Apple at some point. And if you think about it, Dell and other brands at different times have tried to expand into different product lines, but the fact that Amazon was so successful in going from being a computer maker into iPods, music, and telephones and games and all these different types of experiences is because their brand was far more than a description of features. It was an experience. It was a customer experience, and it was an association that made it so much easier for them to expand into these different product lines. And I think that's what Amazon sellers can always be thinking about: is how do I get bigger than this one particular product line? How do I do something that creates a brand and creates a relationship that will give me runway to be able to expand this with time?
Excellent. Well, Johnny, that's it's been a really fantastic sort of big picture marketing stuff, as well as some very specific things about Payoneer. And in a way, we haven't spent that much time talking about the specifics of payment, because I think what you offer is pretty transparent as a company and simple to explain. But I would encourage anyone who's exploring payment options to explore Payoneer. I think they have some unique things to offer, and then some of the stuff they offer is some of the similar things that are out there as well. But I think it's definitely worth exploring, because international expansion, as you said, like the world is getting less and less, more borderless, and I think that we all need to just jump on that movement and be part of it. So, Johnny, thank you so much for your contribution to helping us, awaken us to the possibilities that are out there, which is so exciting. And to be part of this movement, I think, is an exciting time to be in business and to be on the planet. And thank you also for helping with the specifics of the payment. So it's been fantastic to have you on. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Michael. And as we try and do in our marketing here, we do not define ourselves as a payments company. In some of the introduction, I probably slipped into some of the traps of things I've said to brands to try and avoid. But we define ourselves with an identity of expanding globally. That is what Payoneer is about: is helping businesses to expand globally. Payments is one way to be able to do that, but there's plenty of other ways to do it as well. And that way you get an association. I think Amazon sellers that listen to this podcast can all look at the product lines they're selling and can all try and think, how do I expand this globally by creating a brand that is going to connect with sellers and with buyers in different markets? So there's work for us all to do, including myself.
Absolutely. Yeah. And yes, the key word is everything that you need to expand globally, right? Including, I think, sometimes the inspiration, like why bother? And I think you painted a very, very clear picture for us today of just how big the opportunity is. So, Johnny, thank you so much for your time. Probably get you back on in a few months to talk about the latest developments with some of those products you were discussing that sounded very, very exciting to me. But meantime, thanks so very much for coming on the show. Thank you very much. Cheers. Hi, this is Michael Veazey from Amazing FBA. I've got a quick one for you. If you're super stoked and awesomely excited to sell on Amazon, that's great. But if you're American, I'm afraid you need to stop listening, because this one is for the Brits only. I'm not being biased, but this is because I'm talking about something which is based in London. So you're going to need to be in Britain or near Britain to take advantage of it. The basic problem we have as internet entrepreneurs is we are lonely and isolated, because we're tapping, sadly, at our tablets on our own. We're cooped up with our computers and we're going insane with the internet. We need to connect to other people. It's only a human thing, right? And relationships are the basis of all good business. So if you are in that situation, keep listening, because we have a solution called the Amazing FBA London Mastermind. But I'm going to specifically talk to you if you're in that situation, but you are yet to launch on Amazon. So you want to launch on Amazon, you haven't got there yet. This is exactly for you. It's called the Zero to Hero Pre-Launch Mastermind. And our aim is very simple: to get you from research or importing, or even if you've got products on the way to Amazon, to launch with your first product live on Amazon. That's our goal. That's our focus. How do we achieve that? Very simple. We have a face-to-face meeting of up to 15 people, no more than that. So it's very, very focused, and you get 30 minutes minimum to talk about your business and focus on the single issue that's blocking you that month to move you forward. The other way we keep you accountable is that we have a video accountability call once a month as well, which it goes in between the physical meetups so that we keep that momentum going, because momentum's everything, guys. As you know, on your own, you just lose the dream and you fall into slowness, and then the business just dies from neglect. So we do the opposite. We keep it moving, we keep each other motivated, we inspire, and we tell the truth about what doesn't work so other people can learn from it. We also have a couple of other things. I give an exclusive newsletter available only to members of the mastermind, where I share the latest tips, techniques and tricks and bigger strategies that I'm trying on my Amazon businesses, and tell you what works and frankly what doesn't work as well, so you can learn from my mistakes. And of course, there's an exclusive Facebook group to share all this good stuff with each other in between the meetings and the accountability calls. So there's a ton on offer here. It's obviously going to be very limited because it's maximum 15 people anyway, but for the first 5 people who come on board, there will be a special deal and a very special price for life. But that's obviously only for the first 5 people who come on board. So if you want to check it out, just go to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind, and you can find out there more about it. You can apply there as well if you want to. And if you move fast, you might even be one of the lucky first 5 people to take advantage of it as well. So that's amazingfba.com/London Mastermind. I'm going to put this video out to everyone on my podcast and everyone in the Facebook group, of which we've got nearly 900 members now, and on the YouTube channel. So I imagine that this will fill quite quickly. So if you're serious about it, get yourself over to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind, and you can find. Thanks for listening.